Okay, let's talk about the battery and battery compartment. So here's a steel box that will mount to the back of your panel. The box is slightly shallower than your compartment. And this is a lithium battery charger, and it shows in green, shows the battery is fully charged. This charger is only for lithium batteries, so we don't want to mix and match AGMs or dry lead acid batteries or whatever. So here's a lithium battery that I've got that is 14 amp hours, 12 volts, 48 watt hours. So I'm not sending this battery. We're shipping another battery separately from Amazon that you will make your connections to. So the battery charger has its own AC cable that goes to an outlet, okay? And in your case, you may plug it into the APC battery backup. That way, if the electricity goes out, your battery is still charging for some period of time. Okay, so on the charger, it has its red and white or red and black main output wires that go through a fuse. Here's the fuse, and then that goes to the red goes to the positive terminal on the battery. And then on the battery also, I've got marked the plus, which is also red, that comes off of the battery terminal. You want to make sure these battery connections aren't able to touch the steel box in the front or back, okay? So the way I've got it wired now, the steel post can't touch anything. On the black terminal, or on the black wire going into the negative terminal, same thing. I've got it marked 12 volts. And make sure that your connections are black to minus and red to plus. When you first plug in the charger, it may start out at some lower LED indicator, and it works its way up to green, meaning it's fully charged. All right, so this battery, like I said, is not included. You'll get another one, so you'll make your connections on the top of the battery here. Once you make those connections, I have an inline fuse. I think I fused this at 1 amp if I'm not mistaken. That you'll have a red and black wire that go from the battery down to the first encoder, okay, or encoder counter, I should say. We're calling this a counter. Now what this does is it counts and it stores the position of the doors. The reason why it's connected to the battery separately from the master controller is that if the power goes out, the unit, the counter stays working, and it still keeps counting and keeping track of the positions of the door. So even if you turn off the power to all the master controllers, these would stay on from the battery, and if the doors get moved, then the position is still being tracked. So when the power comes back on to all the master controllers, then your position has not been lost. So if the battery ever goes dead, or on the first install where the battery is disconnected completely, the positions are lost. So what has to happen is there's an initial setup sequence that we'll discuss in a separate video, and we'll have some documentation for, that allows us to go into a configuration, rehome the doors, and there's a sequence to that, but it's very simple. So basically the overview of the battery is the battery has a lithium charger, there's a lithium battery, so you don't want to mix and match different types of batteries with different types of chargers, okay? This lithium battery has a lot longer lifespan than a regular AGC or gel cell or dry lead acid battery. So that's why I'm using the lithium. Now the charger will go to your UPS. I'm using an APC brand battery backup, okay? Off of the battery, there are 2 wires, red and black, that are fused with a 1 amp fuse. It goes to the first counter, and it connects to the counter on a screw terminal right here, okay? Plus and minus, you don't want to mix those up. Then off of the first counter, there's a plug, a special Molex plug, red and black, that comes out of the first counter, goes down to the second counter. okay? And then the second counter gets its power from a Molex. And then off of the same board, we jump another Molex cable, red and black, down to the third master controller for its counter. So that's how all three counters get their voltage from the battery separately from the power supply on the master controller. Now, the voltage that's being sent through this wire is 5 volts. Even though the battery is a 12-volt battery, once it gets into this first counter via this green screw terminal, it goes through a 5-volt regulator, and then the counter uses 5 volts, and the voltage that are being distributed to the other counters are 5 volts here. So it's only 12 volts getting in, then it becomes 5. Okay, so we want to make sure that we don't accidentally connect 12 volts to any of the other terminals. 12 volts goes to the green terminal, but not to these other special Molexes, okay? I have a switch installed here just for testing purposes so I can simulate killing the power to the counter. Okay, this switch won't be there in your system. I think that's it for the battery. If I think of something later, we'll add it in another video.